Hello, I'm Richard Raffan. I recently took apart a table which was purchased, I believe, second-hand just before the Second World War, somewhere around 1938. And most of the table wasn't much use for anything, but the legs were pretty solid and heavy. And looking at the end, I would say they're probably what we in Australia call Tas oak, some kind of Tasmanian eucalypt. And I need a tool handle, and I'm going to turn one of these into a tool handle, maybe two, and I'll probably do something else with the other bits as well. But for the moment, it'll be a tool handle. So these are square at one end and rounded at the other, and they're roughly 60 millimeters diameter, about 2 3/8 inches, I think that is. And I need around 400 millimeters, which I think I measured before was between this bead up here and the bottom of the foot. I'm going to use the narrowest one. I'm going to be turning it down quite a bit. I'll take off the foot end first. As always, I want to cut away the end of the potential blank just to see if the wood is solid or not. Right, so I get that and see if I can bend it, no splits, good. The other end there. And if I keep this turned bit, then that can go into a chuck. So that will probably become a little bud vase or something, weed pot. So this goes between centres. I tend to eyeball these things. The more you eyeball, the better you get at it. So that's roughly centre. On this end, use the rest to support your wrist. It helps to lock down the tailstock. If you want to check how accurate it is, just stick a circle in and you can relate the accuracy to the circle you've got. Right, so I'm going to turn all this, well, the aim is to turn it all with a skew chisel, a 1-inch skew chisel. And starting slow, winding the speed up to, it's 1668. I'm anticipating this wood will be fairly hard because it's so old, and the paint might well take the edge off the tool as well. See what that looks like, and it certainly looks like the Tasmanian oak, Tas oak, and working very nicely. Been seasoning all this time. And do long point down the rest of the way. Another way of reducing this is to use peeling cuts. Keeping the edge just below the surface of the wood, not in like that, sounds horrible, tears the grain. this is the end where I'm going to have the ferrule. This is for this 3/4 inch scraper, and I have, in fact, what is one of my original ferrules. First thing I ever did as an embryo turner was cut ferrules for the handles I was going to make. So these verniers I've rounded over the corners so I can slide them over the top of the tool, of the timber. See how that fits, and it's fairly tight. You can see there's a burnish mark, so I can probably take just a teeny bit more off that. I also need to true this face up. So this now comes off, ferrule goes on. So this end can now be trued up on the very end. And I turn the whole thing round now into a chuck. So the ferrule now goes into some long nose jaws, not right in, just grip about half of it because I still need to get at this end. And this end is the centre of the old spur drive. Tighten it up and away we go. And one of the reasons I work this way round is because the tool's going to be there. I'm right-handed. It means that as I'm turning this, I can feel how the tool's going to feel in my hand as kind of work proceeds. So I've got a fairly small hand, so that's going to come down a little bit in diameter here. Long point down. As you can probably see, I've got my right hand near the ferrule and the handles lined up against my forearm, arm into my side, so I've got plenty of my weight behind the tool. Transferring the weight off my right foot onto the left. Curve that in with a long point up. I can feel little chips coming out there. So I'm going slightly uphill. Not a nice cut. Right, so that's round into the top of the ferrule. Around here I'm just going to use a peeling cut. Nice and gentle, and that takes care of the kind of cylindrical portion of the handle. It's very nice straight grain timber, this, very well selected for the table legs. Good for a tool handle. splintering away there as I go slightly uphill. Yep, just there. Just go gently there, right, and then reduce the end of the handle. And this actually needs to go to the grinder. Hear the difference. Right, that will do. And sand that. .180 grits. And some 240. Right, this gets beeswax. That is why you don't wrap a cloth around your fingers. Now this needs to be drilled. I have a twist drill which is the same diameter as the width of the, this is a square tang, so it's basically the width of the tang, and that means that the four corners will dig in as the tool's driven in. So this now goes into the long nose jaws. So the amount I have sticking out of the jaws here takes me to where the tang starts to widen, so that's just that amount. So the little cone there goes up against the end of the drill. This comes up. I've wound the tailstock right back. Put the speed down and just make everything fairly tight here. Turn the lathe on and wind the tailstock in. And then I can just feed that on, run the speed up a bit more. Just clean that out. Now the hole is not dead central, which I do not mind, because I quite like to have tools which won't roll away on the bench. And so this tool, when it goes in, I imagine will be just drooping very slightly. Then driven in like that, hitting the end of the handle. Counterintuitive, but in it goes. And if it doesn't, then you can take this out and drill a slightly larger hole. So my 55-year-old ferrule gets another lease of life. Should be good for another 50 years.